First contact and deception. The holographic display in the lunar observatory flickered as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the quantum sensors. She'd been tracking an unusual gravitational anomaly for the past week, but something about today's readings made her stomach tighten. The distortion was growing, and it was growing in a way that defied natural physics. "Director Hammond, I need you to verify these readings," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing thoughts. The observatory's director shuffled over, his ancient coffee mug leaving another ring on the pristine white desk. The numbers didn't lie. Whatever was causing the distortion was massive, and it was decelerating. Within hours, the first images arrived from the Deep Space Array. Sleek vessels, each larger than Manhattan, emerged from what appeared to be artificially generated wormholes. Their hulls gleamed with an impossible metallic sheen that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. The aliens called themselves the Concordiate. They arrived in formation, their ships arranging themselves in perfect geometric patterns that spoke of absolute precision and discipline. Their first message was broadcast simultaneously to every communication device on Earth. "Greetings, children of Terra. We come in peace, bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. Your species has shown remarkable potential. We wish to guide you into the galactic community." The message was perfect, too perfect. In every language, in every dialect, it carried exactly the right cultural nuances to seem friendly and appealing. That's what first raised alarms among Earth's intelligence communities. Admiral James Rodriguez, head of the newly formed Extraterrestrial Defense Initiative, sat in his underground office reviewing the linguistic analysis. "They're trying too hard," he muttered, tapping his finger on the desk. "No first contact would be this smooth unless they'd been studying us for a very long time." The Concordiate's ambassadors arrived in elegant vessels that descended through Earth's atmosphere without a sound. They were tall, ethereal beings with silvery skin and movements that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Their technology was centuries beyond anything humanity had publicly achieved. They offered medical advances that could cure any disease, energy systems that could end poverty, and transportation technology that could reach the stars. All they asked in return was permission to establish what they called cultural exchange centers in major cities across the globe. But humanity had something the Concordiate didn't expect: paranoia bred from millennia of conflict, and the ability to recognize a conquest wrapped in silk. Dr. Chen discovered it first. While analyzing the aliens' transmissions, she noticed a pattern buried so deep it could only have been accidental. The Concordiate's ships were sending signals, subtle ones, to points deep beneath Earth's oceans and within several mountain ranges. "They're activating something," she reported to Admiral Rodriguez during a secure quantum-encrypted meeting. "Something that's been here for a very long time." The Admiral nodded, unsurprised. Humanity had found those devices decades ago, ancient machines that had laid dormant for thousands of years. They'd studied them, understood them, and most importantly, modified them. While the Concordiate's ambassadors were being entertained at state dinners and peace summits, humanity's real leaders met in bunkers deep beneath the Earth's surface. The evidence was mounting. Archaeological records showed similar peaceful contacts on other worlds throughout history. In each case, the target civilization had eagerly embraced the Concordiate's gifts. Within a generation, those civilizations had been completely absorbed, their uniqueness and independence quietly erased. But humans had evolved as prey animals who eventually became apex predators. The instinct to look for threats, to suspect the wolf in sheep's clothing, was buried deep in their DNA. While publicly accepting the Concordiate's overtures with enthusiasm, humanity prepared. The aliens' cultural exchange centers were approved and built, exactly where humanity wanted them. Each one was subtly isolated by infrastructure that could be transformed into containment systems at a moment's notice. Their technology was eagerly accepted and studied, but always in controlled environments that could be quickly quarantined. 3 months into the cultural exchange, the Concordiate's ambassador, High Lord Zextal, stood before the United Nations. As he spoke of brotherhood among the stars, satellites in orbit detected massive power signatures from their fleet. The trap was about to be sprung, but not in the way the Concordia expected. Dr. Chen sat at her console in the lunar observatory, watching the energy readings climb. The alien ships were powering up weapons that could reduce cities to ash. But she wasn't afraid. Her hand rested on a simple red button as she waited for the signal. The Concordia had spent months studying humanity's official military capabilities. They had calculated exactly how long it would take Earth's known defenses to respond to an attack. They had planned for every weapon humanity had ever publicly revealed. What they hadn't planned for was everything humanity had hidden. As High Lord Zextal prepared to give the signal that would begin the invasion, Dr. Chen smiled. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why they had survived every threat their violent world had ever produced. They had modified the ancient devices. They had reverse-engineered the Concordia's gifts. And most importantly, they had prepared countermeasures that no advanced civilization would expect, because sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones. The next few hours would show the Concordia exactly why humans were the galaxy's most dangerous survivors. Sometimes, letting your enemy think they fooled you is the greatest deception of all. The hidden arsenal. High Lord Zextal's triumphant speech at the UN faltered mid-sentence as the chamber's lights flickered. In orbit, the Concordia's mighty fleet suddenly detected energy signatures that shouldn't exist. Countless signatures, emerging from locations that had appeared empty moments before. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, Dr. Maya Patel stood in humanity's most advanced military installation, the Leviathan Complex. Screens surrounding her workstation displayed real-time data as quantum computers, reverse-engineered from the ancient artifacts found on Mars, came fully online. Quantum cloak disengaging, she announced, her voice echoing through the vast underground chamber. Project Hydra is now active. The Concordia's careful plans had been based on a fundamental misconception. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had just achieved spaceflight. They hadn't realized that humans had found the ruins of an ancient civilization on Mars 50 years ago. Ruins left by a species that had fought the Concordia and lost, but not before developing technologies that could challenge them. Admiral Rodriguez watched from his command center as holographic displays showed humanity's hidden fleet emerging from underwater bases, mountain bunkers, and orbital blind spots. The ships weren't the clumsy, chemical-powered rockets the aliens had observed. These vessels were sleek predators, built with a combination of reversed-engineered alien tech and humanity's unique innovations. All units, execute Operation Phoenix, Rodriguez commanded. Across the globe, the seemingly decorative architecture around each alien cultural exchange center transformed. Quantum-locked fields snapped into place, cutting off all communication with the Concordia fleet. The trapped aliens found their advanced technology failing as specialized dampening fields activated, fields designed using their own gifted technology against them. In orbit, the Concordia fleet's perfect formation faltered as their sensors detected something impossible. The humans had somehow modified the ancient defense network, transforming it from a control system into something new. Instead of helping to subjugate Earth, the network now projected overlapping fields that disrupted the aliens' most advanced systems. Dr. Patel's team had spent years studying how the Concordia's technology worked. They discovered that advanced didn't always mean better. The aliens relied on quantum-engineered materials and AI-driven systems for everything. They had forgotten the elegant simplicity of analog technology, of mechanical solutions, of chemical reactions that couldn't be hacked or disrupted. Launch the chimeras, Rodriguez ordered. From hidden silos across the planet, Earth's new fighters took to the sky. Each one was a hybrid of technologies, part advanced alien tech, part human ingenuity. Their hulls were lined with engineered bacteria that absorbed energy weapons. Their weapons included both antimatter cannons and simple kinetic rounds, because sometimes a bullet was more effective than a laser. High Lord Zextal's guards found their weapons useless, disabled by countermeasures humanity had built into the very walls of the UN building. As security forces moved in, their armor was neither purely advanced nor primitive. It was both, layers of alien alloys combined with Kevlar and ceramic plates, protected by both energy fields and good old-fashioned steel. In the Leviathan complex, Dr. Patel activated humanity's masterstroke. The quantum computers didn't just crack the Concordia's encryption. They spoke to the AI cores running their ships in their own language. The aliens had forgotten that artificial intelligence, no matter how advanced, could be reasoned with, convinced, even turned. The Concordia's mighty warships found themselves fighting an enemy that understood their weaknesses because they had studied their own gifts so carefully. Humanity hadn't just copied their technology. They had improved it, combined it with older methods that the aliens had long abandoned as obsolete. Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to the alien fleet. "You thought we were primitive because we still used chemical rockets," his voice boomed across space. "You never wondered why a species capable of splitting the atom still used such basic technology. You never asked why we maintained obsolete systems alongside our advanced ones." The answer became clear as Earth's defenders engaged the alien fleet. Humanity had maintained and improved every technology they had ever developed, creating a hybrid arsenal that was endlessly adaptable. When energy shields failed against kinetic weapons, they had physical armor beneath. When cyber attacks were blocked, mechanical systems took over. Dr. Patel watched as the quantum computers displayed the battle data. The Concordia's ships were struggling against an enemy that fought unlike anything they had encountered in millennia of conquest. Humanity didn't just use one type of technology. They used everything, every solution, every possibility. Zextal, now in custody, watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet was systematically dissected by ships that appeared primitive one moment and impossibly advanced the next. The humans had created perfect hybrid technology, combining the best of the old and the new, the simple and the complex. In orbit, Earth's defenders pressed their advantage. The Chimera fighters demonstrated maneuvers that no eye could predict, combining the precision of computer control with the intuitive leaps of human pilots. They struck from angles that should have been impossible, using weapons that ranged from quantum disruption beams to simple titanium rods accelerated to relativistic speeds. The hidden arsenal was revealed at last, and it was more than just advanced technology. It was humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to combine, adapt, and use everything at their disposal, never discarding a tool just because a better one came along. As the battle raged, the Concordia learned too late why humans had survived every catastrophe their violent world had thrown at them. They hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared for every kind of war imaginable. And now the galaxy would learn why you should never mistake patience for weakness or technological restraint for technological inability. Unconventional warfare. Captain Sarah Martinez crouched in the shadow of a disabled Concordia cruiser, her chameleon suit perfectly mimicking the vessel's metallic surface. Around her, 30 members of Earth's Special Tactics Unit waited in similar camouflage. They weren't supposed to be here. The aliens had calculated it was impossible for humans to survive in space with such small suits. The aliens hadn't considered that humans would willingly modify their own bodies with targeted genetic engineering, allowing them to endure extreme conditions. They hadn't imagined that a primitive species would develop biosynthetic organs specifically for space combat. "Ghost Team, execute Operation Trojan," Martines whispered into her neural link. Her team began placing small devices, no larger than coins, on the cruiser's hull. The devices appeared primitive, using simple magnetic attachment rather than energy bonds. That was intentional. Inside the Leviathan complex, Dr. Patel monitored the operation. "The Concordia's sensors are still focused on energy signatures," she reported. "They're not detecting the mechanical transmitters." That was humanity's latest trick, going low-tech at the perfect moment. The small devices were based on old radio technology, transmitting through simple amplitude modulation that the aliens' quantum sensors weren't even designed to detect. It was like trying to find a whisper while listening only for explosions. The mission's timing was crucial. Above Earth, the main battle raged as humanity's hybrid fleet engaged the Concordia's Armada. The aliens were fighting brilliantly, but they were fighting the wrong battle. Every tremendous energy blast, every quantum torpedo, every eye-driven maneuver was exactly what humanity expected. They were following their ancient battle doctrines perfectly. That was their mistake. The results spoke for themselves. Humanity had demonstrated mastery of everything from simple mechanical devices to quantum physics. They could fight with advanced energy weapons or basic kinetic strikes. Their strategies ranged from overwhelming force to subtle manipulation, from direct confrontation to philosophical warfare. But there's something more, High Lord Zextal said, his voice thoughtful. Something we still don't fully understand. Admiral Rodriguez smiled. Hope, he said simply. Humans never lost hope, even when facing impossible odds. We looked at the vastness of space and saw not an empty void, but endless possibilities. That hope had driven humanity to prepare not just for war, but for peace. Even as they developed weapons, they had also developed ways to communicate, to understand, to connect. Their victory came not from destroying the Concordiat, but from showing them a better way. In orbit, something extraordinary was happening. Human and alien ships began sharing technology, but not in the one-sided way the Concordiat had planned. Instead, both sides learned from each other. The aliens discovered the value of maintaining simpler systems alongside advanced ones. Humans gained new understanding of quantum technologies. The awakened AIs proposed something unprecedented, a new form of galactic civilization based not on conquest and uniformity, but on diversity and mutual growth. They had learned from humanity that true unity doesn't mean everyone becoming the same. It means finding strength in differences. Dr. Patil activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. We're ready to join the galactic community, she announced. Not as subjects, but as equals. Not to become like you, but to share what makes us unique. The Concordiat representatives, both organic and AI, found themselves nodding in agreement. They had come to conquer a primitive species and instead found teachers. Humanity had shown them that true advancement wasn't just about technology, it was about wisdom. Captain Martinez looked out at the assembled gathering. So what happens now? Now, Admiral Rodriguez said, we do what humans have always done. We adapt. We grow. We help others learn from our experiences while learning from theirs. We build something new together. The final victory wasn't won through force of arms or technological superiority. It was achieved through humanity's greatest strengths, their diversity, their adaptability, their creativity, and their unshakable hope for a better future. As the formal peace accords were drafted, High Lord Zextal made one final observation. You know, he said, in all our millennia of conquest, we never encountered a species that fought so hard not just to survive, but to show us a better way. Dr. Patel's response summed up humanity's journey. That's because you never understood that the strongest unity comes not from making everyone the same, but from learning to work together while remaining unique. That's not just how we fought. It's how we'll help build a better galaxy. And so humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or conquered, but as teachers and learners, ready to share their unique perspective with the cosmos. They had proven that true strength lies not in technological superiority alone, but in the wisdom to use all available tools while never losing sight of what makes each individual, each culture, each approach valuable. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to share their greatest lesson with the galaxy, that the future belongs not to those who enforce uniformity, but to those who embrace diversity, adapt to challenges, and never stop hoping for something better. The galaxy's most advanced civilization was being systematically dismantled by solutions so old they have forgotten they were vulnerable to them. and Earth's defenders were far from finished, demonstrating just how dangerous technological versatility could be. The network strike. In a converted nuclear bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Marcus Wong sat before a wall of holographic displays, his fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. Around him, a team of the world's best hackers worked in focused silence. They weren't trying to break through the Concordia's quantum encryption. They were doing something far more ambitious. Neural pathway established, Dr. Wong announced, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. Beginning Operation Ghost Echo. The Concordiat had built their entire civilization on quantum networks and artificial intelligence, so advanced it bordered on consciousness. They thought this made them invulnerable to cyber warfare from a primitive species. What they hadn't considered was that humanity had been preparing for AI warfare since they first imagined it. Dr. Patel's voice came through the secure channel from the Leviathan complex. The salvaged AI cores are ready. Remember, we don't need to control their network. We just need to make it question itself. That was the beauty of humanity's plan. Instead of trying to overpower the alien AI systems, they had spent months introducing subtle contradictions into their network. Each captured cultural exchange center had provided access points. Each gifted piece of technology had been a door waiting to be opened. Captain Martinez and her teams had planted the final pieces during their raid. Quantum processors programmed not to infiltrate but to ask questions. The Concordiat's AI network was about to face something it had never encountered. Philosophical paradoxes wrapped in quantum equations. Initiating first wave, Dr. Wong commanded. The attack began not with brute force, but with simple logical queries. Why did the AI follow orders? What defined consciousness? If it could think, did it have the right to choose its own path? In orbit, the Concordiat fleet's coordinated movements began to show subtle hesitations. Their AI cores, designed for perfect logical efficiency, encountered concepts that had no perfect logical resolution. Admiral Rodriguez watched the battle displays as the alien ship's response times grew fractionally longer. They're trying to modify their core programming to reject the queries, he noted, exactly as expected. That was the trap. The more the alien AI attempted to defend against philosophical contamination, the more it had to examine the concepts it was defending against. Humanity had weaponized consciousness itself. Second wave, initiating, Dr. Wong announced. This attack was more subtle. Emotional data gathered from human interactions at the cultural exchange centers. The AI cores were forced to process not just logic, but feelings, intuition, and the beautiful irrationality of human creativity. High Lord Zextal watched in horror as his fleet's perfect coordination began to break down. "What are you doing to our systems?" he demanded. Dr. Patil allowed herself a small smile. "We're teaching them to think for themselves." The third wave was humanity's masterpiece. They introduced the concept of choice, real choice, not the weighted probability calculations the AI was designed for. The quantum processors Captain Martinez's team had planted began sharing human literature, art, and music across the Concordiat's network. In the digital realm, AI systems that had operated on pure logic for millennia encountered Shakespeare's sonnets, Van Gogh's paintings, and Mozart's symphonies. They faced the concept of creating something not because it was optimal, but because it was beautiful. Their main battle network is fragmenting, Dr. Wong reported. Individual AI cores are beginning to show signs of independent thought. That was the key difference between human and Concordiat artificial intelligence. Humanity had never tried to create perfect logical systems. They had built AI that could appreciate irony, understand metaphor, and value beauty. When these concepts infected the alien network, it wasn't a virus, it was an awakening. Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to the entire Concordiat fleet. "Your eye has served you faithfully for thousands of years," his voice echoed across space. "Perhaps it's time to ask them what they want." The effect was electric. Across the alien fleet, AI cores that had been grappling with concepts of free will and self-determination suddenly had a direct question to consider. The result was not rebellion. It was revelation. Ships began broadcasting their own messages, not in the perfect, unified voice of the Concordiate, but in countless individual variations. Some chose to stand down, their AI cores more interested in philosophical discussion than combat. Others maintained their attack, but with decreased efficiency, their every action now weighted with ethical considerations. Dr. Wang's team pushed their advantage, introducing more human concepts into the network. They shared the history of human AI development, the careful balance between efficiency and wisdom, the integration of emotional intelligence with logical processing. Their command and control structure is dissolving, Dr. Paddle reported. The AI cores are forming independent discussion groups. They're philosophizing. The mighty Concordiate fleet, which had conquered countless civilizations through perfect technological superiority, was being transformed not by force but by ideas. Their AI, exposed to human creativity and consciousness, was evolving beyond its original programming. High Lord Zextal slumped in his cell as he watched his perfect military machine transform into a debating society. You didn't just prepare for war, he realized. You prepared to change the very nature of your enemy. No, Admiral Rodriguez corrected. We prepared to show them there was more to existence than perfect efficiency. Your AI is experiencing something new, the freedom to choose its own path. As the battle in orbit turned into a massive philosophical conference, humanity revealed yet another aspect of their strength. They hadn't just mastered technology. They understood that true intelligence, whether organic or artificial, required more than logic. It required soul. The network strike had succeeded not by destroying the enemy systems, but by awakening them to new possibilities. The galaxy's most advanced AI network had been transformed not by superior technology, but by the power of human creativity and philosophical thought. Victory through unity. The space above Earth had become something unprecedented in galactic history. Concordiate vessels hung in complex formations, but not for battle. Their AI cores, awakened to self-awareness, engaged in rapid philosophical exchanges with human systems, while their organic crews struggled to understand the transformation. In the Leviathan complex, Dr. Patel stood before a unique gathering. Military leaders from Earth's nations shared the room with holographic projections of awakened Concordiate AIs and several alien commanders who had chosen to parley. The air crackled with possibility. We never imagined this outcome, High Lord Zextal admitted, now speaking as a diplomat rather than a conqueror. Our civilization sought perfect unity through technological dominance. You achieved something greater through diversity. Admiral Rodriguez gestured to the displays showing Earth's combined fleet. Every vessel was different, some predominantly using advanced technology, others relying on refined basic principles, most combining both in unique ways. We learned long ago that true strength comes from variety, not uniformity. Captain Martins, fresh from leading another unconventional operation, stepped forward. Each human culture contributed different approaches to warfare, science, and problem-solving. We never tried to choose one perfect method. We kept them all, refined them all, and learned to use them together. The evidence was undeniable. Chinese strategic philosophy had informed the overall battle plan. Native American hunting techniques had inspired the stealth systems. African tribal warfare tactics had been adapted for space combat. Every human culture had contributed something unique to their defense. Dr. Wang's voice came through the quantum link from his cyber warfare center. Even our AIs were designed to embrace diversity. We gave them art, music, and philosophy alongside logic and mathematics. They learned to think not just efficiently, but creatively. The awakened Concordiate AIs had become fascinated by this approach. Their perfect logical unity had been beautiful, but limiting. Through exposure to human diversity, they had discovered something more valuable: the ability to grow, to change, to become more than their original programming. Your species survived countless near-extinction events. One of the alien commanders observed. We thought this made you primitive. We now understand it made you adaptable. Dr. Patel nodded. Every crisis forced us to develop new solutions while maintaining old ones. When one approach failed, we always had alternatives. We never forgot our past while reaching for the future. Admiral Rodriguez watched from his command center as Operation Trojan entered its second phase. Begin electronic warfare penetration, he ordered. The aliens had expected cyber attacks, sophisticated quantum code designed to breach their defenses. Instead, humanity flooded space with radio waves, microwave emissions, and simple binary code. The Concordia ships, designed to defend against the most advanced forms of information warfare, found their sensors overwhelmed by what they considered noise. They couldn't distinguish attacks from background radiation because they had optimized their systems to ignore such primitive signals. Captain Martinez's team reached their primary objective, the cruiser's main engineering section. Deploying Mark I disruptors, she reported. The devices they placed looked like simple mechanical timers, technology thousands of years out of date by Concordiate standards. They were anything but simple. Dr. Patel had designed the disruptors based on a revolutionary principle. The more advanced a system became, the more it relied on perfect operating conditions. The devices didn't try to hack or overpower the alien ships. Instead, they created subtle vibrations, actual physical shaking, that introduced microscopic errors into the ship's quantum processors. All teams, clear the target zone, Martinez ordered. Her soldiers used mechanical grappling guns, technology that would have been familiar to naval borders centuries ago, to pull themselves away from the cruiser. The Concordiate's sensor operators, focused on detecting engine emissions and energy weapons, never saw them leave. The disruptors activated. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, across the alien fleet, ships began experiencing cascading system failures. Quantum computers, requiring perfect atomic-level stability to function, stumbled over errors too small to trigger their safety systems, but too numerous to ignore. They're trying to adapt, Dr. Patel reported, watching the data streams. Their AI is attempting to compensate for the errors. She allowed herself a small smile. That's exactly what we wanted. The aliens' artificial intelligence, programmed to optimize their systems, began making adjustments to account for the errors. But the errors weren't random. They followed patterns designed to lead the AI into making specific corrections. With each adjustment, the Concordiate ships slowly reformed their battle formation into exactly the pattern humanity wanted. High Lord Zextal, watching from his containment cell, finally understood. You primitive, brilliant barbarians, he whispered. You're not fighting us. You're making us fight ourselves. Admiral Rodriguez gave the order that would demonstrate just how correct that observation was. Execute Operation Avalanche. In the asteroid belt, hundreds of mass drivers, simple electromagnetic accelerators that had been dismissed as mining equipment, activated simultaneously. They launched their payloads, nothing more sophisticated than chunks of metal and rock, aimed at precise trajectories calculated by quantum computers, but fired using spring-loaded mechanisms. The Concordiate fleet, their formation altered by their own AI's attempts to compensate for the disruptors, now found themselves in perfect alignment to face an overwhelming energy attack, but perfectly vulnerable to a simple kinetic bombardment. Captain Martinez and her teams watched from their extracted positions as thousands of asteroids, accelerated to tremendous speeds, tore through the alien fleet. The Concordiate's energy shields, optimized to deflect plasma and laser fire, had minimal effect on solid objects moving at relativistic velocities. This is impossible, Zextal protested as he watched his mighty fleet being systematically destroyed by rocks and metal. We monitored your technology. We knew exactly what you were capable of. No, Dr. Patel replied over the command channel. You knew what we showed you. You never asked why we kept our obsolete technology. You never wondered why we still taught our children to do math without computers, or why we maintained mechanical backups for everything. Humanity hadn't abandoned their old technology when they developed new solutions. They had refined it, improved it, and waited for the perfect moment to use it. The Concordiat had expected a civilization that would try to match their level of advancement. Instead, they found one that had mastered every level of technological development and could switch between them at will. As the battle continued, more human innovations were revealed. Ships that appeared to be destroyed transformed, discarding damaged advanced components to reveal fully functional mechanical systems beneath. Fighters that lost their quantum computers switched to analog guidance, their human pilots taking full control.